poker room and lounge. It is a Thursday night, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump in at a free roll. Now this free roll is something special. It's a free roll, but part of the prize is a ticket into the big tournament that's coming up towards the, I believe next month, where the Texas House Club $10,000 World Poker Tour Diamond Event, which is huge because it's gonna be one of the biggest events of the year in Vegas. So I've been trying to win that. I haven't got to play a lot of these tournaments due to my schedule this go around. But I'm really trying to get some of those. There's not very many chances left, but I'm trying to source some of those passes. So you start off with 35 big blinds, which is it's workable, but blinds are at 12 minutes. And they go up pretty aggressively after that, and I think you hit the big blind ante somewhere around the 5th or 6th ante but you can buy in until the end of the second break. And at the end of the second break, I believe you can add on for like $15,000 or something like that for $40. So these usually end up with like pretty solid prize pools along with the pass to the big tournament. So that's what I'm going to try to get into now and try to make something happen. It's so pretty. Okay, so pretty good start here. So we start with 3,500. I, right off the bat, had a couple of really great double ups. Where did I get it in with? All in pre. It checked around to me. I think I was in the big blind, and there was like a small raise in early position, and like 3 or 4 callers or something. And with such small starting stacks, I looked down at ace queen off with the ace of hearts and I believe queen of clubs. So that looks like a pretty good time to just rip it in. I have enough for 2 add-ons or rebuys, so I was gonna go ahead and just rip it in there. Anyway, so that's what I do. I go ahead and rip it in, and I think I got like 3 callers, maybe 4 callers. There was still some action. Bad news because a 10 comes on the flop and there's 2 players with a 10. However, I end up reverting a flush. So I think I immediately either tripled or quadrupled up. End up with a really good stack. And I think it was the very next hand. I'm in the small blind, and the blinds are super small. It's 2 and 300 at this point. I look down at ace 6 of diamonds, and the guy to my left is a great guy. His name's Bob. He makes it 1,000.
Go all in, I'm gonna call it, I'm gonna beat you.
So are you shoving on the flop no matter what it is then? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that.
You're not, that's not what you're saying.
Go all in right now, I am gonna call you and beat you. That's what I'm saying.
So I need 700 more.
Yeah, just a call.
Just to call. It's pretty too. It's very pretty. But, yeah, damn, Bob. I like your style.
If they're good enough to call, they're good enough to call a raise. That's what we're supposed to play.
I mean, it was 100 more for me to see a flop, and then you gotta make it 700 more for me after that. So now we're tying up the game because I can't fucking figure out what I want to do. I asked him if he's making plays, like, well, if you call it, if you shove, I'm calling, and I said, all right. So I just go ahead and see it for 700 more. The flop comes out pretty good for me. Comes out ace 6-5 with 2 hearts. So I flopped 2 pair, top 2 pair. My hand's so strong. He showed so much aggression and so much willing to get it in. right there, pre-flop, so I just check it over to him. He bets for 1,000 more. I don't have very much more in my stack. I look at him and I say, I don't think that hits you. And he goes, did it have to? And I go, I don't know, I'm all in. And he snaps it off and calls. And he had about 8,000 in his stack and I had about 10,000 or something. So I think I got my stack up to 22,000 at that point, which was great. Nothing else really happened for a while. I lost a couple of hands, nothing too big. So now I'm up to, I think, right around 22,000 at the break. Blinds are gonna be, I think, 366 if I'm not mistaken, which gives me a pretty nice little stack. I think the average stack right now is like 7,000 and I'm 3 times that. So moving forward, I'm looking to make some moves, abuse the small stacks, and kind of stay out of the way of the big stacks and the more aggressive players who are regulars. But if I can get a chance to get it in good, that'll be awesome. I'm just saying that I haven't seen aces or kings since I started doing the vlog. Feels like now would be a great chance to catch those in this level, so I can come in with a huge stack, hit the final table, and destroy. All right. I knew you were getting out of line. I knew you were getting out of line.
Yeah, I passed. Connectors. That's good. Told you Luke's got a bomb in. Good shot. Come in, say easy. Hop in, good shot.
Oof.
Human ace.
Jack.
Good.
You didn't deserve. Show the bluff.
Big one. Good match. Go to the dealer station. Coming over. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I can text. Okay, so we made it to the final table with only one rebuy. Boy, I had a decent stack. It was around 20K. Pete, Bad Beat Pete, everybody knows him around here, was just messing around way too much at one point and made a raise in the cutoff. And I was in the small blind. He was 3 positions to my right, 2 positions to my right. He made a raise to, I think, 3x or something. I can't remember what the blinds were at the time. And I looked down at ace-jack suited. I had pushed him off a hand earlier by shoving, and I was hoping that he'd remember that. But, so that's what I did. I went ahead and ripped it in with ace-jack suited. Unfortunately, this time he had enough to call. He had the ace-king off. I flopped 2 clubs. Couldn't get there on the river. So I ended up having to rebuy. Luckily then, a couple of hands in, I think I was in the same position. I was in small blind. Blinds at that point, I believe, were 500, 1,000, 1,000 with the big blind ante. Pete made a raise again, and I knew he'd been raising light. And I looked down at Queen, Jack of Diamonds, and so I shove it all in. Another player calls, and Pete calls thinking that he's got everybody on lock. The other player who was in had King 9 suited, and Pete had Ace 8 offsuit, I believe. Anyway, it was a terrible flop. Not a very good turn, but a beautiful, beautiful queen on the river. Anyway, a few minutes ago we got down to 9 players, so we made it to the final table, and we got a pretty good stack. I'm adding on. I can't remember how much the add-on is. I think it is for 15,000, but we'll see. And there's like 1 or 2 big stacks. Pete has a giant stack, and he's been on tilts, and he's been messing around a lot. So I'm gonna see if I can't catch him getting out of line at some point. But he's gonna be my target. I'm also gonna target the many other small stacks that are at the table. I think everybody else has kind of a stack that's similar to mine, and probably everybody's gonna rebuy or add on. So we'll see where I'm at when I get back in there, but I'm feeling pretty good. We're down to 9 players. Here's where the real poker starts. Blinds are gonna be very, very, very expensive. It's all gonna be about good hand selection and getting it in good. So we're gonna see what happens.
And he shoved on me with ace queen. Yeah, but I'll show it. Hey, and then everything else that I've been raising on the button, I've been raising, and he's over here like calling me with ace jack, sending him to the rebuy cage. The guy videotaping. My final table glasses, man.
Oh, you did? Oh, 3 hours. I paid $20. 20 for 3. Yeah, that's what I did.
You should have called. Yeah. You so know the way I work. Alright, so you guys remember how I was complaining earlier about not ever getting aces or kings since I've started vlogging? Well, that's no longer the case. So here's the situation where 6, I think, players left at the final table for the WPT Freeroll. Winner gets a first place card and some cash. Then I'm in the big blind and I get 5 callers, or 4 callers. With me, there's 5 people in the hand. And I look down at 2 red aces. This is big. This is like kind of a perfect situation to make a big play where everybody thinks that I'm just messing around. I raised to 10,000. Blinds were 1,600, 1,600, 800. So there's already 4,000 in the middle. I want to make it seem like I'm trying to get my blinds back, so I make it 10,000 to go. A player who's in early position shoves all in, and he has 13,200, something like that. And I'm thinking, I'm just doing backflips in my head. Bob, who was on the button, or maybe the small blind, decides that he's gonna call, but first he makes a big deal of like, oh, but we can't raise, nobody can raise, nobody can raise. Makes a big deal about it and makes the call, and I call, and since it is a dead raise, then nobody can make a re-raise on top of it. behind, 25,000 behind, something like that, almost 30 behind. He shoves into me and I snap call, show him the aces, and he goes, oh. He turns over 8-9 suited of spades. And the other player has ace-6 offsuit. So I'm way ahead. The turn comes out a 10. So Bob then has a bunch of outs. He could hit a 9, he could hit an 8, he could hit another 10. But I'm still doing really, really well, at least 75-25 to scoop. Unfortunately, the river comes out an 8, giving Bob 2 pair. Bob is a great player. I love Bob, but I was pissed at Bob at this point.
Sorry, dude. I'm sorry, I apologize. I hang my head in shame.
He had no business being in that hand with 8-10 suited, especially shoving into me. He should have folded and let me scoop a big pot. Unfortunately, that wasn't what happened. But hey, it's poker. That's how it goes. You play, you learn, you live. I feel like I played great all night. I ran into some tricky situations, but actually came out relatively ahead. I basically came in 5th of 29 players for the daily today, which I'm happy about. I feel good about. Any other card but an 8, and I would still be in there with a monster stack at the final table, ready to take down first place. But that's just the kind of thing that you have to do in this situation. I'm not sure that I could have or would have done anything differently. 10K probably was a little too small. But again, my intention was to make everybody think that I had kind of a weak hand and was trying to get everybody out of the pot. But I was happy with the results. Again, I feel like everything I did was maybe not correct in the GTO sense, but correct for this type of room and for this type of game. The end of the day, I got to play some great players. Pete and Bob are both great. We love those guys. The dealer is always great. The service was great. And I love playing at this room. So I'm going to keep playing here, and maybe next time I'll finally win one. All right. Well, good night, everybody, and run good out there.